Morning BookTube, welcome to Jack Reading Corner. I am Jack. So I meant to do this earlier in the morning, but as usual, the last 2 days I've been sleeping late and haven't been able to get up at 8 o'clock like I've been trying to do. And I know to some people it's like, oh, you can just sleep in, who cares? But to me, I want to establish good habits. So I've been keeping up with doing the push-ups every morning. Although it's kind of hard when you don't see the actual progress. I know I'm not gonna all of a sudden magically get like a six-pack or something, but I don't. It's hard when you don't actually see any. You feel like you don't see any progress, but of course that doesn't happen that quickly. I know that. So, but I do argue in my defense, like when I'm like chatting with my coworkers or a customer, because I like to establish a small talk with a customer, give a friendly impression. And then I mention that I'm tired. I'm like, but to be fair, I stayed up late because I was reading, which is not entirely true because right before I go to bed, I get caught up in watching BookTube videos, or I'm watching a movie or a TV show, and but I try before I officially go to sleep, I will read. But despite that, I'm still staying up late, so it's justifying it by saying, well, I was staying up late because I was reading. Makes me feel a little bit better about it. But I do need to try to get out of that habit. Of course, with habits, it's very hard to get out of them. But I do want to get out of that habit and at least be physically in bed by 11 and then read then. Although it doesn't always, there's always some excuse of why I'm not doing that. Like I said, BookTube or TV or I have friends that want to talk, want to chat, and it's like, I try to explain to them, it's like, no, I'm trying to establish good habits, go to bed at a decent hour, but then I know as soon as we start talking, and I'm not entirely blaming said friend. It's not her fault. It's not entirely her fault. It's also my choice. I make the choice. I don't pay attention. I choose not to pay attention to the time. I choose to let us get caught up in the conversation. I can control it. I could actually stop it. Although it is easier to blame everything and everyone else than blame yourself and be like, okay, this is something I can control. I need to fix this problem. If I don't want to have these bad habits, then I need to change them. I need to choose to change them. I need to actually take the action. So, anyway, let's talk about what I want to talk about in this video. So, this is another day off reading video because my mom and I decided I should ask off today since both my parents can't take me to work today, and we don't want to bother our friends, Miss Shavari, again, and then I don't want to rely on Uber, because it's not like with Uber, no, you don't have to pay them up front, like when you hire a taxi to come pick you up. But with that being said, you still, it's not like it's free. Uber's not free. You still are paying them. You're just not paying them right then when they come and get you. You put your information in, and then they'll take the money out of your account. That's how you'll get. So it's not free. Uber's not free. So they decide. So because they're not able to bring me there, and the ride situation is not that, unfortunately, the ride, because I don't drive, because I'm unable to drive, my ride situation is sometimes a little bit of a challenge. So we decided that I would ask off the next 2 days, and then I'm working on Friday. And it always bugs me whenever my coworkers make comments like, oh, I haven't seen you in a while, like, I feel guilty, and then if I express that I feel guilty, they'll be like, well, if you feel guilty, then, ask to come in or something. It's like, but at the same time, my desire to not want to work, not out of, oh, I don't want to work, I'm going to be lazy, I would rather stay home. I never want to work. I mean, I think it's just human nature to not necessarily want to, and unless you're doing a job you're really passionate about and you really love, which it doesn't happen that often for most people. I think most people don't necessarily want to go to work. They just go to work because they have to, and they're responsible. So it's not like I'm like, I hate that I have to go to work, and I don't hate my job. I mean, I like the people I work with, and the customers are very nice. I mean, I would be more prone to not being. I think if I was still living back up north in Maryland, then yeah, I probably wouldn't be as keen about it working in retail, because I feel like people are so rude up north, while down in the south you have that southern hospitality. Although there still is that whole, sometimes I get the vibe of condescendingness because they assume that I'm a teenager because I look so young. And again, I know, oh, but you're so lucky, you'll be so grateful, and oh, I mean, not everybody gets to look that young at your age, and which it's like, yeah, but people think I'm a teenager. Okay, I don't want to, and of course people tell me, oh, well, you need to get over it because, you're always going to look like a lot younger than your age, and you're so lucky because most people at your age will start getting wrinkles and won't look as young anymore. Which I guess that means if I was confident and could show it, I could be a model then, apparently, if I look so young. Because, I mean, once you start looking old, a little too old, even when you're just turning 30, apparently, which actually, that I'm thinking of a book, one of the books I'm going to talk about today, that I'm currently reading, and that's what happens. Like, the main character is a model, and her agent is like, I'm dropping you because you're looking old, so you're not going to be as pretty anymore. But apparently, if I look young all the time, then I could be a model. If I just have to just have to act more confident and lose a lot of weight. Get like a stick thin, But anyway, so but yeah, so it's not that, but I believe it or not, I like having days off. I like being able to chill. Not everybody loves to work. Most people probably don't love to work unless, like I said, if they really love their job, which doesn't happen that often. Most people do it because they know that they have to, and they're not going to be. Most people are responsible enough that they realize, okay, I don't like working, but I have to do this because I have to take care of a family. Although I don't really have that, but I have to. But it's good to start, even if you don't have it. It's good to start early and learn what will happen if I ever do have that, or at least have a husband. It will give me, and it also will help me learn. And I'm sure my parents also want me to learn how to be independent. I mean, I want to be independent, but as in understand money and stuff like that. Although I imagine they probably think that's not going so well because I'm still wasting money and buying books. But I think I remember recalling Mom one time saying that she would rather me waste money on books than other things. So, I mean, maybe I didn't hear that, but I thought I did. Maybe I just think I heard that because I want to justify the fact that I constantly buy books. But I swear, I think I remember hearing her say that when she was talking to someone on the phone. But again, maybe I just wanted to hear that. I wanted to use that as a justification. Maybe she didn't actually say that. So let's get to what this video. So here, let me go ahead and talk about what I'm planning on reading the next 2 days, and hopefully work won't call me because then I would hate to have to tell them that I can't go in. I mean, I technically could, but then I would have to call for a ride on the way home, probably, But what I would probably end up doing is calling my mom or my dad and be like, should I tell them I'm available? But I mean, I worked a lot these past couple days, these past 2 weeks, so. Okay, so I mentioned the book about the main character being a model, and that is this book, A Secret Rage, which I'm going to do a review of this one. This is the month where my February wrap-up video I mentioned what I'm going to do is every other month is going to be individual reviews. But what I'm thinking I'm going to do is I'm going to do one of those reviews where you review 2 books, like what Bookable does. Heather from Bookables, that's what she does. And I think there are other booktubers, but she's the only one I can think of that she's the first one I noticed that will do that. Will review 2 books in one video. So when I finish this one, I'm going to review this one and Persuasion in the same video. But, okay, so if you watch my video on March mystery sale, I talked about I bought 4 books because they had, the sale was you buy 1 mystery book, you get 3 for free. And so I wanted to get, there are 2 Stephen King books I wanted to get. And although, looking at them, I wonder, are they actually mysteries? But, I mean, because I don't think, Stephen King doesn't just write mysteries, but, so I was like, I had an audible gasp when I saw them, because I was very excited, because when I looked at the normal shelf that has them, because when they have these special sales, sometimes they'll have books stacked on the top of, like, they have the shelves, the rows of shelves going this way, and then they have, like, on top of those shelves, they will have a small collection of mass market paperbacks from that category of what they're selling. And so they had that for the sale, obviously. And I saw the 2 Stephen King books. And there were 2 other Stephen King books, but those were 2 that I already had. So it's like, I'm not going to buy another copy of those books. I mean, they weren't even special copies. They were just different ones. They were still mass market paperbacks, which I already have mass market paperbacks of those 2 books. And like I said, they weren't special. They didn't have a pretty cover. They didn't have pretty covers. I mean, they still had nice pictures on them, but they weren't like fancy looking or anything. So there was, I mean, I can understand on some level if you want to buy a fancier copy of a book that you already have, or like maybe even the foreign language copy, as long as you can read that foreign language. But anyway, long story short, so because I wanted to take advantage of the sale, and I couldn't get 4 Stephen King books because, well, the other 2 I already had. And I saw this one along with another one. If I can, I think it's here. There's, well, it's under my other pile. Let me see if I can get it. So I saw that Charlaine Harris, she writes more than the Sookie Stackhouse books. She also writes actual mysteries, regular mysteries that don't have any supernatural elements to them. And I read the first 3, or I might have gone to book 4 of the Sookie Stackhouse books. But then, I started watching the show, and it was just like, I know that there are differences in the books, of course. But at the time, I was thinking, I already watched the show, so what's the point of reading the books? I mean, they were fun. I enjoyed them, and they were not badly written or anything like that. So I saw these ones. There were like 3, but of course, like I said, I wanted to get the 2 Stephen King books. I was like, okay, so I just need to pick 2 of these, and this was not something that oh my god, I absolutely have to have these. So I just randomly picked 2 that sounded the most interesting to me. And that is A Secret Rage and Grave Sight. And this one is about, so I got these for free. And in this particular one, this deals with a very important issue, and it's kind of interesting that I'm choosing, I mean, it's not like I unconsciously, I wasn't, I'm sure when I picked it, I was thinking of, in the back of my mind, I was still thinking about what's been going on lately with the whole Me Too movement. But this book kind of has to do with that. Not, like, literally with that, but it is about women getting raped. And, like, you have this woman who is a model in New York, but like I said, she's told by her agent she's getting too old because she's almost 30. I think she's, like, 27. And she decides to, after talking to her best friend from her old hometown, she decides to move back to her old town, thinking, oh, this is going to be safe and warm and comforting, coming back to my old southern hometown in Tennessee. And she decides to use this opportunity to write a book and go back to college as a way to show the world that she's not, she's not the whole cliche of the dumb pretty model, and she thinks everything's. But when she gets there, of course, she finds out that a college co-ed just got raped. And slowly throughout the book, different women get raped. Like, one of them, two of them end up being people that she knows. And and then she ends up, and she herself gets attacked too. So it's all about them dealing that and the emotional baggage that comes with the fact that you get raped, and how some people will say that, oh, you asked for it. Or, in the feelings of rage you feel at the injustice of people of someone actually telling you that you asked for this, or telling you to run away and hide with the tail between your legs because people will talk about you behind your back, and people will assume that, oh, you like I said, you asked for this. And it's just really, it's a very important book, I feel like, especially with the whole Me Too movement going on. To me personally, it does feel dated, and it's not badly written though. It's not a literary masterpiece or anything. It's just more like just a quick, easy, simple read that talks about an important issue that a lot of women deal with, especially today. And it was written in the 80s, and there's no supernatural element or anything like that. And like the mystery is figuring out who committed the rapes, who is raping all these women. That's the mystery. And I'm almost done with it, as you can see, more than halfway, because it really is quick. I mean, it's only like 14 chapters. It's just some of the chapters are a bit longer than others. So I don't know if this is considered a novella or a novel, because it's not that long. So I'm going to finish this up today. And then once I do that, maybe tomorrow, either later tonight, this evening, or maybe tomorrow, I will do my review on this book in Persuasion. Which are completely different books, totally opposite of each other. Both about women, and I don't know what this one is. So it's like the main character and their brother, I guess that they are experts at helping people get out of town if they need to. And a girl gets murdered, I think, and then, this girl gets murdered, and it's up to, and the main character suspects that she's dead, and they have to figure out who, find the killer, and because he or she is still loose. Because of course, it doesn't always have to be a guy. Of course, it probably will be, but so yeah, let me finish Secret Rage, and then, okay, so these two I want to get done, because like I said, as I've said in the past, I want to get Hero of Ages done before June. So I have 2 months to read this one, and if I pay attention to it and don't let any of the books, I could still get this done within 2 months. So hopefully that will happen. But this is the third and final book in the Mistborn series, The First Era, because Brandon Sanderson has started writing a second era, which, like I said, so basically it's set in the same world, but it's in the many years, maybe even decades after this one. So, and a lot of stuff's going down right now, and I cannot wait to find out how this is gonna end. I'm nervous. I like that. my issue with Jane Austen novels is they're very predictable and you know that they're going to end happy. But I'll talk about that more in my review of the book. But, and I also want to start reading this. I keep meaning to read this book. I even think about reading it during the summer. I don't know why I associate this book with summer, because, you know, I think of, like, it's set in, I get the impression that the world of Locke's world is kind of Italian-inspired. So, that, I don't know, I associate that with summer for some reason. But I'm gonna read this one as well, and like so I might read these two today. I don't know though, because I also have to get done. I have to read some of these other ones. I have 3 other books here, and then I have one book that I was just thinking about last night and thinking, okay, I've had that one for a long time, and I need to get that one read. So I'm thinking of starting that one today as well. And that's one of those books I feel like I need to set a goal for a certain number of pages I read each day or each night or whatever. But I'm currently reading another classic. Luckily, I was able to finish. Persuasion was a quick read, so I was able to include that as a classic. So it was my first classic of the year. And because I didn't read any in June and February. I mean, I was going to start Phantom of the Opera because I'm surprised it doesn't look that long. I mean, I'm sure it's long, but it doesn't look that, like, Phantom does not look as long as I would assume it would be, but, I'm really engaged in this story. It's so interesting. I keep wondering, is his friend gonna find out that this guy is a murderer, that he's the one who killed the landlady? And I want to see the sister and this friend get together. I kind of would love to see them as a couple, especially since he has a bit of a crush on the sister. And her other 2 suitors turned out to be not such great guys. Which, by the way, yes, when I first, in one of my earlier videos when I talked about mentioning this book, I said that I wasn't sure about Luz Hin, or the guy that the sister decided to engage herself to. That rich guy who was kind of trying to help her out financially by being like, let's get married. We find out that he's, not only is he an arrogant, he's I already got the impression he was an arrogant dick, but he's got the old-fashioned mentality. Of course, this was back in the day, so, it shouldn't be a surprise how his way of thinking, that whole, I'm helping you out, I'm doing you a favor, and was stunned when Duna was like, you know what, you're too much of an ass, I don't care, I'm not gonna marry you, and he's like, you have no choice, why wouldn't you marry me, I'm great, it's like, seriously, dude, get off your high horse. But, I still have mixed feelings of Raskolnikov. He's definitely an interesting character, because at times he seems like, he does seem like he definitely cares about his family. He's a decent friend sometimes. Like, he didn't want Duna to marry that guy because he felt like she was only doing it to help him, and he's like, no, you don't need to be marrying this guy for my sake. So it seems like he really does care about his mom and his sister. But at the same time, I think he can be very selfish. And he's like such a drama queen. I mean, when he's dealing with, granted, he's dealing with these guilty feelings, which is, I'm assuming that his craziness comes from feeling guilty for murdering someone. And he's like, I don't want you around, go away. He's just like, go away, I hate you, you're torturing me. He gets so dramatic about that. It's like, chill, dude. Of course, at the same time, he did murder someone. But it's like, he murdered someone, but at the same time, he does moments where he does seem like a decent human being. Which, I think you're supposed to. I feel like you should have mixed feelings about main characters. You shouldn't just, sometimes, like, some of as much as I will defend YA, and I don't understand why people dismiss it and don't take it seriously, and then I have people that think that, oh, I'm too old for YA, I didn't get into YA, and, I try not to have this argument with my best friend, with Terry, because she's one of those many people. And after, like, this one guy on BookTube, he was making videos, and I recommend, oh, you should have a BookTube channel. And he's like, and at first I thought he was nervous about doing a post, sharing his videos, making them public, despite the fact that he was sharing them on Facebook. I thought he was nervous about sharing them to a bigger audience on YouTube because people, but then, he said, oh no, it's not about that, it's the fact that I don't read YA, so I wouldn't fit in YouTube because because everybody on BookTube only reads YA and I read very little. And I'm like, seriously? Have you even watched BookTube? You just assume that everyone on BookTube only reads YA, and so ever since then I will post on my book group, I will post links to channels that either they talk very little about YA, or they don't just talk about YA, and they talk about other books, or they don't talk about YA at all. Because I'm like, I get so defensive, like, how dare you, you just assume, what, you think that BookTube just consists of YA readers? The problem, of course, is that, 95% of BookTube does consist of a lot of YA readers. But despite all that, I do agree that YA does have its issues, and one of the things that my issue with YA is that I feel like sometimes the main characters of YA, especially the female characters, are a little more not as complicated as I would like them to be. They don't have enough shades of gray. Like, I feel like they're just kind of goody-goody and, like, yes, they become the chosen one, but then at the same time it's, it's like not necessarily perfect, but just really good, and I want this more gray area. Like, I mean, I'm not saying they have to have these YA characters go murder someone, especially if it doesn't fit the plot, but just sometimes, of course, I guess they're thinking, oh, these are about teenagers, and teenagers, they're not that dark, and they won't do anything that bad or something. And of course, someone could probably say, well, if you want something more dark, edgy, oh, you should read YA contemporary. It's like, no, thank you. I don't want to read YA contemporary. I don't like being pushed it on. I don't want it to be pushed on me. And I find YA contemporary, I don't want to necessarily read about the real world, a world that I'm from, like the world that I'm used to. I read to escape. Which is why, yes, this is in our world, but it's in the past. These books are not staying in my lap. They keep falling. I don't want them to fall, especially because the bookmark in one of these books tends to fall out of the book. But anyway, I'm really enjoying this book, and I want to talk about more with people, but it's like I don't have anyone to talk to about it. It's really frustrating. And then, okay, so the next is, I'm almost done with The Essex Serpent. And so I was right, there is some romance going on between Will. There are romantic feelings between Will and Cora, which is not good, because he's married. But then I'm wondering, my prediction now is that, okay, so they've introduced that Will's wife, Stella, is sick. She might have consumption or TB. I don't know if consumption and TB are the same thing. I have to look that up. But that's what she has. So I'm wondering if she's gonna die and then they'll get together, or maybe she's giving them her blessing or something. Because she, at this little party that Cora is hosting, in the town, she has them. She's like, oh, you two should go dance together. And I don't know, maybe I'm reading too much into it, and maybe it's more just like, hi, rascal. I know you're gonna try to get in my lap. You can't. I mean, you more than willing want to take my chair, so go take my chair. It's like, now you want to be in my lap. Now you don't want to be in the chair because because you see me sitting in this chair. Little chair hog. But anyway, so I'm, or maybe, like I said, maybe I'm reading too much into it, and maybe not necessarily that Stella is giving them their blessing. It's just she doesn't want to, like, she wants Will to have fun, so it's like she's like, really, rascal? You have no problem sitting in the other chair, but now you want to sit in this chair. But you can see the little head in the camera. But yeah, I mean, maybe not. Maybe she just like wants Will to wanted Will to have a good time. So she's like, well, why don't you dance with Cora? You know, not necessarily that. Oh, she's like, oh, I know I'm gonna die. So you know what? I can tell you two have feelings, because I mean, there's never been a moment where I don't recall reading something where where Stella suspects something going on between her husband and Cora. I don't know. I mean, there's never, not that I recall. But of course, Luke and Martha suspect something is going on when they see them dancing together. So of course they're thinking, uh-oh, you know. And of course, unfortunately, Luke does not like it, because he's all in love with Cora. But then I think that Luke and Martha had a pity sex. Like, you know, she kind of felt, she was like, I don't even know if she liked him, because I thought she liked the Spencer guy. But they did just hook up, I think. It happened really quick, though. Just, that's my problem sometimes with literary not that I'm, like, personally, I don't really, like, care about the sex scenes or anything, but when a character gets together with someone, or they have a kiss or something, like, this happens all the time in, like, novels written by, like, Jane Austen's novels do this. And no disrespect to Miss Austen, and yeah, she writes what she knows, I understand that, so she probably doesn't want, and she was written in the 1800s, so of course she's not going to get too passionate with that kind of stuff, but in describing it, but it's kind of like, it's, what bothers me is then it just happens. People just say, the author just says, this happened, and then it's like, wait, what? It's like, wait, what? Did these two just make out or something? Did they just decide to go to have sex? You know, it's like, I also like the fade to black kind of situation. Like, or where the author, or it's more, I don't know if it's a fade to black, or it's more, but either way, I don't like it when the author just mentions, like, just say, oh, these characters did this, you know, but then it's like, I mean, maybe, I don't know, but it's just, I always end up missing it. It's like, wait, when did this happen? Or did these characters hook up or something? Like, there's something that indicates that they did, like, but it's a very small thing. It's like, you know, it's like, wait, when did this happen? Or did this just happen? And it bugs me. It's like, I want to know. I want it kind of more obvious. And that's the good thing about, like, modern books, especially books for younger readers that aren't necessarily the literary books, that they have more of that kind of, you are aware that the passion happened, the kiss happened, they explain it to you, and it's not, like, or they don't, like, tell you, like, that, you know, you are supposed to show it, but it just doesn't, you know it happened. You know, you actually get that, oh, okay, this happened. Like, it's not just, like, it happened, like, in a blink of an eye, you know. I personally don't like it. I don't like when it all of a sudden, like, you know, you realize, wait a second, did that just happen? I want it to be a little more obvious. So the last book I'm going to talk about before the one I just mentioned that I feel like I need to get to, that I've had for a long time, before I get to that one, let me just mention this one last one. And that is The Flight of Gemma Hardy. This is a Jane Eyre retelling, and as you can see, I started this. Unfortunately, I'm not in the halfway point, but I did get through the first 3 sections. It has all the elements of the Jane Austen novel. Her parents died. She lives with her aunt and uncle, and their 3 kids. But the uncle ends up dying too, and he's the only one that was ever really nice to her and showed kindness and affection towards her. Her aunt and cousins aren't too keen on her. Although at first her twin cousins were actually nice. They didn't mind hanging out with them. But then when after their dad died, the mom was like, okay, you need to stay away from Gemma, and you need to go live your go to school. Jem is a bad influence. And you suspect that, I don't know if this was as much in Jane Eyre, but it does talk about it in this book, that maybe the aunt was a little jealous of Jane because her husband showed Jane a lot of affect, or what am I calling her? I mean Gemma showed Gemma a lot of affection and love, like she was his child. She wasn't. She was just his niece, and I think her aunt did not like it. She was not happy with it. She did not like that this. So she has quite a backlist. I'll have to look for these books if I like this one. Where is it? Does it say her name? I'm trying to find her name. Well, anyway, this video is probably already getting too long anyway, so I'm not gonna bother with it. Yeah, it's getting long. So it has that element, and then her aunt, a doctor, after Jane gets locked in a room and gets sick, the doctor suggests she go to school, so they have that part where she goes to school. The school is it's kind of a thin layer of abusiveness at the school, and a lot of discipline, really harsh discipline to the point of cruel and, like I said, abusive. And she does make the one friend, that one girl, and then, but since, of course, this is a retelling, they decide to go a different route with the friend here. Instead of her dying of typhoid, because one of the major differences is this retelling is set in the 20th century and the 1950s, so we have different problems and stuff like that. And they have some more modern things like cars and stuff like that. But although when I read it, I keep picturing the old-fashioned stuff, like of the style of the 1800s with the carriages and the clothes that they wore back in the 1800s. I can't picture the 50s. I'm trying to picture the 50s when I'm reading it, but it's very hard because I still have the image of what was going on in Jane Eyre, and I'm like, no, this is a different story. It's the same story, but just set in a modern period, and so like I said, it being in the 50s, so the whole typhoid thing is not a problem. But they do have it where her friend, her name's not Helen in this book. I don't remember her name. And like I said, I don't want to go looking for it because it's going to take me a long time. It's going to take me a few minutes to find it. She has asthma. So the girl dies of asthma because, her father's not very good at taking care of her and her health, and just drops her off at school because he doesn't want to deal with her. And, so now I'm at the part, I just got to the second part, when she gets the job as a governess, although it's not a governess, she gets the job as something else, not a governess. What is it? Oh, Miriam. I think Miriam is her friend, the one that died. I think that's the name of the friend. So it's not a governess, but something that, whatever the modern equivalent to a governess is. Maybe a nanny or something? I don't remember. Let me see if I can find it. Oh, nanny. She has her own as a nanny. So not a governess, but a nanny. Which, although they had nannies in the 1800s, but, then again, maybe not so much in England. Although, another thing that makes this book different is this takes place in Scotland, and I think, so I thought that was kind of cool, that it's set in a different country in Europe instead of England. although again, I can't hear the Scottish accent. I keep hearing the British these characters sounding British. That's why I like using, like, having actors from a movie version in my head instead of, or, like, at least I'm trying to picture people that I would, actors that I would cast, in these parts if there was a movie version of it now that I was making. That's why I like to, because that way I can at least have a face claim to the character. Because I can't do it when I don't have a picture. I don't have, even though I read the description of the book, I can't come up with a full picture of what they look like. I need to pick a person to be the model. So I'm getting ready to read the part when she goes to, and I think the family's name is St. Clair, rather than, I think. So instead of Rochester, it's Mr. St. Clair, because it's in Scotland. So I can't wait to read this, because even despite the fact that I'm adamant that I don't like romance novels, at least modern romance novels, because I will read classic romances, or at least books or the classics that have romance in it. I was anxious to get to the part when she meets the guy, the older man. Okay, so here's my question though. Since this is a modern retelling, how are they going to do? What's the age difference going to be? Because back then they got away with the whole her being legally like 18 and just being a legal adult, and him being 30, because it would have been normal back then. It would have been acceptable at least. I mean, like in Jane Austen's novels, most of her heroines, with the exception of in Persuasion, are all teenagers. Hey, Rascal, are you licking yourself? So, I'm wondering how old, because I think they're still keeping Gemma the same age as Jane was, but I'm wondering how old the guy is, because I think some people might have an issue with that. I don't know though, because like if that age difference was that big, because she's still, yes, legally she's an adult, but that's still a pretty big age gap. So, like I said, back in the day, it might have been normal, but this is the 1950s and 60s, so I don't think that would be as acceptable back then. Would have been as acceptable. So I'm wondering how old he is. Okay, so let me talk about this book real quick before I finish. So the book that I was talking about, or that I mentioned that I need to read, that I've had this for a long time, is The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexandre Dumas. I have been wanting to read this for a while. And I was definitely more interested in this one than The Three Musketeers, which I ended up donating. Because it was like, I was coming to realize that, I guess I could have read a little bit farther into the book before I officially decided if I was going to be an DNF or not. But it's just, I wasn't interested, And I've heard some things about it that was like, made it seem like it's not my cup of tea. But I did want to read his other book, this one, The Count of Monte Cristo. And I've had this book for a long time, a lot longer than I had The Three Musketeers. So I'm adamant, and I like the whole idea of a revenge story. I think that's really cool and really interesting. It just, with classics, it takes a long time to get to the good stuff. And this is the book, and like I said, as I hinted at earlier, I feel like I need to almost, like, set a goal for myself to read 100 pages a day, or several chapters a day. Because, again, one of my pet peeves is I don't like stopping reading a book in the middle of the chapter, unless, really, Rascal? That's none of your business. They are not for you. Stop it. He's seeing people outside the window. We have a house being built next door. And he's seeing the workers. He does not like that. You're such a pain in the butt. You know that? You are. That's not your territory, okay? So you don't have to protect us from them. Anyway, so, what was I saying? Like I said, I had this book for a long time. Oh yeah, I don't like starting in the having to stop in the. I mean, yeah, if I have to like during my break or something, or like, I have to get out. Like we're on a road trip and I have to get out of the car for a few minutes, or like, or my mom or dad has called me down for something and I'm up in my room reading or something. Then yeah, I'll do it because I have to. Because I can't be like, okay, I am reading right now. Don't interrupt me. But, um, I mean, although I used to do that as a kid to my parents, if I remember correctly. But so I don't, I rather stop when a chapter ends, and then I'll get up and go do other things. So I don't know if maybe reading the first 100 pages will work for me because I don't know where page 100 starts. I'll have to look. Let me see. Yeah, page 100 is right before another chapter, right before chapter 14. So, yeah, so that's not gonna work. I can't just read the first four. Let me see about page 200. Let me see. Yeah, again! It's in the middle of the page. Middle of the chapter. Okay, so I'll just have to go by reading a certain number of chapters instead. But either way, I need to get this book read because it's been on my shelf for a long time. It's a big book though, as you can see, it's a pretty big chunker of a book. And I think it's one of those books that original publication, it was in 2 parts. So, and this I think is the whole thing. Let's see, how many chapters are there? There's 117 chapters. So yeah, it's definitely not divided into 2 parts. There's another. I won't have to buy another one, and that's an Oxford Classics edition. In case you're curious. So let's see, Oxford Classics edition. Not that this one is really that pretty, although I'm sure it would have been pretty in the store. It's just not pretty anymore. And this address sticker does not work anymore because I don't live on that address anymore, but I can't take it off. So I'll have to put a new address on there. I think I'm gonna see if Mom still. I have to look for that address label, because then, not that I'll ever lose this book, but you never know. I might be dumb because I've left other stuff behind. Like I left a hat somewhere the other day. Anyway, okay, so this video is getting way too long, so I'm going to stop there. So that's my reading update right now. I have not come back to reading The Stand for those of you who are paying attention to my Stephen King project. Unfortunately, that might be the only book, unless I start another Stephen King book. The Stand might be the only Stephen King book I'll be reading this year, unless I really focus on it. Who knows? Maybe I'll surprise myself, but considering how long it is, I don't know. And it's not always the most exciting. There are moments where it's just characters talking and stuff like this. Now, it's more interesting than, than some novels like Jane Austen, than Persuasion. That's not as, that has a lot of boring moments, no offense. But I will talk about that more in my next video. So, if you like this video, be sure to give a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already. I would really appreciate it if you did. And if you want, you can click the bell notification below to find out when I post new videos. And as always, I hope you all are enjoying your reading, and I will talk to you all later. Alright, bye.